Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. How you doing tonight? How's it going? There you go.
Hey, there you go, right there. What's going on, Ryan?
Oh man, I'm good, man. Good to see you, brother.
Always good to see you, man. Doing it real big for minorities and mental health.
That's
And
right.
I don't know about you, man, but I see a therapist.
Yeah, that's good, man. I need to get your contact. I need one.
I got you. That's
Okay.
no problem.
All right. So definitely want to say welcome to our virtual town hall tonight. It's all about men's health awareness. And before we even get started, let's shout out our sponsors for the evening. Got to show them some love for making all this possible. So big shout out to NAMI,
Yes.
big shout out to Shepherd Pratt, big shout out to American Group. Thank you for allowing us to come together and discuss this very important topic. Men's health awareness, Chop. Serious stuff, man.
Listen, I told you I go see a therapist, man. So it's been very hard, especially the questions I got to ask the panelists about COVID. Is it good for black men to even see therapy? All of that,
So we're gonna get into all of that.
A lot of questions.
Okay, great, man. Because June is Men's Health Month, so perfect time for us to discuss this, man. We got some great brothers on our panel tonight. Let's bring them up, man. Let's bring them up first. Mark Raspberry. Is Mark in the building? Big shout out to Mark Raspberry.
Hello.
Hey, Mark, how you doing, man?
Hey, very well. How about yourself?
Doing well, brother. Welcome. Quentin Askew, the CEO of 211 Maryland, is joining us tonight as well. Quentin, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, brother. Doing well. Glad to have you. Brandon J. Johnson, a mental health advocate, is here as well to help us out tonight. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm good.
Brandon looked like a pork chop real quick.
We family, we related, I guess.
That's what's up, man. We all family here tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to have Jeff Johnson join us a little bit later. So, gentlemen, let's just go around the room really quick and get a little introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself, the organization that you're with, and what you're doing. So let's start with you, Mark.
Sure. My name is Mark Raspberry. I am a psychotherapist. I work for Shepherd Pratt. And we are kind of pivoting like everybody else. So I have been doing telehealth for the past year and a half, which has really allowed me to expand my practice. Traditionally, my practice is around the Silver Spring area, but through the pandemic, I'm seeing people all the way from Frederick to Baltimore, Maryland, and everywhere in between. So things have really changed over the past year and a half. But with Shepherd Pratt, and we are the largest outpatient mental health provider in the state of Maryland. And so we have lots of different programs that we feature, all across the state.
Awesome. Technology is an amazing thing, man, isn't it?
We're here tonight, right?
Right. Tell me about it. Hey, Quentin, tell us a little bit about you, man, and 211 Maryland.
Yeah, and definitely appreciate being on, and thanks to everyone. So Quentin Askew again, President and CEO of 211 Maryland. And basically what we are a health and human service referral line for the state. So by legislation, anyone can just dial 211 and be connected to one of our centers across the state for any health and human services. And so we actually have a 211 Press One in partnership with Behavioral Health Administration that connects with our crisis centers. So it's available 24/7, 365, an easy 3-digit number. Just 211 Press One, and we can connect you to someone for help.
That's awesome. What's up, Brandon? Porkchop, number 2. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Hey, good brothers. So I'm happy to be here. I'm Brandon Johnson. I've been working in mental health and suicide prevention, particularly for about the past 8 years. I'm the former director of suicide and violence prevention for the state of Maryland. And so now I have the Black Mental Wellness Lounge, which is a YouTube page, which is dedicated to mental health in the Black community. So having conversations around, just like we're doing tonight, really talking about the Black community, bringing on guests, bringing on, therapists just like Mark, to talk about what this means for our community. And so I've been doing that since the pandemic. So it's kind of my pandemic baby. So been, working, doing that, and really being out and within community.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate your efforts and all your work. And I think Jeff has joined us. So if he has, can we get him up? There he goes.
There you go.
Hey.
Jeff.
How are you?
Doing well, brother. Good to have you, man. Glad to have you here.
No, it's my pleasure to be here with this distinguished panel of brothers that know a hell of a lot more than I do.
So we were just going around the room, giving a little introduction, man. So if you could give us a little intro and tell us about Men Thrive.
Yeah, I mean, we've been up for about 2 years. We've got a podcast. We've got some meditations and affirmations that we've developed. We're a community that ultimately is around how do we extend the life expectancy of Black men. Every single brother on this StreamYard knows that Black men have the lowest life expectancy of any demographic in the country. We have the highest levels of toxic stress, highest levels of anxiety, highest levels of new attempted suicide, highest levels of depression. And then on top of that, we've got a culture, both from the white supremacy side and from kind of antiquated views of masculinity that tell us to be a real man, don't feel. And so Men Thrive is really a community that's driven by clinicians, because we have clinicians on part of our team, but it really is behavioral health language light. And we understand that there's a huge spectrum of work that we have to do. So we're in a lot of ways trying to play that role that some of the clinicians on this line aren't going to play, but really being a bridge, in some ways a direct recommendation to a lot of those clinicians, because we're very clear within the community about what we want to try to do and what we're not skilled to do.
Awesome.
I want to, if I can, open up the floor, because Jeff, everything you said, I have went through. I tried to kill myself twice. I suffer from depression and anxiety. And my question is, why is it so hard for Black men to even seek therapy?
Well, I'm sure some of the clinicians could probably answer that better than me. But from all of the brothers that we've talked to, man, I mean, behavioral health, one, was not designed for us. The community is not designed for us. The infrastructure is not designed for us. And hell, unless you're a clinician who is really committed to our community, even the training isn't designed for us. I mean, we know that most clinicians are trained to treat single trauma. Mm-hmm. And most Black people I know are dealing with compounded multiple trauma. Many of clinicians are trained to help us to cope, and Black folks need to overcome. Like, I don't know a brother gonna sit on the couch to cope. Like, dog, I'm coping already. So how do I get to a place where this thing sitting on this couch or talking to this brother is spitting in the face of everything everybody ever taught me about what being a man was, in order to just make it versus overcome. And so I think there's a lot of things there. I think, one, we have to stop saying that to feel is weakness, because the reality is feeling is actually strength. And it's not just negative feelings, right? I mean, because again, the brothers on the line that can talk about this much better than I can, we're not just in a place where we're not talking about when we're depressed or when we're sad. We don't even talk about good shit. Like, we're not even talking about when we happy, because we don't want to look goofy, or when we're excited because we don't want to look like we ain't been there before, or we're in love because we don't want to look like somebody can take advantage of us. So we're not even in a place often where we have circles of brothers where we feel confident expressing the great emotions that we have, let alone the ones that are sometimes more challenging to deal with. So, I mean, normalizing that. And I think these brothers who are on with us tonight, and many others, I think, are getting to the place where we're seeing that become more normalized. But we still got to push through, because we got so much farther to go.
Anyone else want to tag along with that answer?
Yeah, I can jump in real quick. I think, Brother Def hit the nail on the head. And to take it even a step further, the mental health community and therapists and things haven't, it's not for us, and it's also done some harm, right? Like, there's been, there's been a ton of missteps in the mental health community and working with Black men, where they would go and forever to find a Black therapist, particularly, a Black man. And, when you go dealing with the kind of things that Jeff said, it's hard when you have to double explain yourself, right? Like, when you have to go through the traumas that I'm dealing with and then talk about it from the lens of being a Black man, and then you still have to explain, oh, this is why this impacts me, or this is why racial trauma impacts me, and these are what these feelings are. And when you have to double explain yourself and continue to kind of pour out, it could be more harmful than healing. Mm-hmm. And so I think we've gotten to a point now, you know, we're still not even close for bridging that disparity, but we got as many Black therapists as we've ever had. Like, this is, you know, the best that we've gotten. And, you know, it's difficult to do that. So a lot of people have gone to places and therapists that have been harmful to them. And so if somebody asks them, well, man, you know, I know you went and tried it, how was it? And you're like, man, it was trash. It did nothing for me. It really started to even further widen that gap. And so I think it's, you know, really the field has a reconciliation to do to kind of get us to the point where we can start to pull some of our brothers back in, and brothers like, you know, like Mark and like Quentin really leading that charge of pulling us back into that realm of, you know, safe mental health therapy.
Mm-hmm. And I also think, you know, as far as the language, right? For someone who grew up in West Baltimore, like, I didn't understand what mental health is, and or to be able to understand these feelings. And so until I got around individuals who talk that way, that I can understand what that was, you know, that I didn't necessarily talk like me in the beginning. I didn't understand what the mental health or what I was feeling was. And so I think we really have to have a language that we can communicate with others, you know, especially Black men, about how we feel, what that means, because mental health may not always connect to me that I'm feeling bad. You know, because 20 years ago, you told me I have a mental health, I wouldn't understand that, but I felt depressed. And so I think it's really also understanding the language that we share with each other to make sure it's something that we can understand and really articulate.
Mark, what about you?
Yeah, Porkchop, first I wanted to really thank you for telling your story, because it is very personal about what happened with you, and just about your view on therapy and going forward with your mental health. What I wanted to say is I definitely hear where everybody's coming from. And I experience a lot of what you all are saying too. Jeff, you really hit it when you said that, you know, in terms of the training that people receive, there really isn't a terribly lot of culturally competent platforms that people are using to teach and prepare clinicians across cultures, right? Not just Black therapists, but all therapists who will become or encounter Black clients in the field. So I think that's a part of it, right? But the other part of it is that we do, as Quentin said, we need to establish a language, right? We as Black men need to be able to talk about when things aren't going right. We know it, right? We know it. We know when we're going through some stuff. We know when we're dealing with crazy amounts of stress, when the stress is leading to now medical problems. We know when depression looms, when we isolate ourselves, when we don't want to be around anybody else. But see, we don't have that language to communicate with each other, to begin to have these conversations, right? To begin to take away the stigma from mental health. Because as much as you guys were saying that mental health, and I'm with you, right? Mental health does, I think, owe Black men an apology for misdiagnosis and a whole bunch of things that happen in our shared history, right? But at the same time, I think we need to take away some of that stigma away from getting help and admitting that it's okay sometimes to not be okay.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's pretty funny you guys are talking about this. And I'm going to bring this up because I was watching the Mary J. Blige documentary, and she deals with a lot of mental issues while she was writing her albums. And one of the things I took away from her story was the strength that she got from being vulnerable and telling her story. Like you, Chop, there's a lot of strength and a lot of power in actually facing, you know, what's going on with you. And, you know, I think a lot of that connection brothers need to be able to make and be able to move forward and say something like, hey, look, something's wrong, you know? And there's a lot of strength in being vulnerable and telling your side of the story, man. So I think this is very dope.
It was, just to tell a little bit more to get into it, the first time I tried to kill myself, it was pills. The second time, I tried to slit my wrist, but I used my tats, you know, to cover the marks. And then I think my depression really came in 13 years ago when my mother died. When my mother died, I totally went like into a shell. And I feel like I'm still digging myself out, because I look at depression being like a shovel and a ladder. You get the shovel and you keep digging a hole, and then when you're ready to get out, then the ladder shows, and then you can climb out the hole. But it'd be when you're depressed, you don't even think about the ladder no more. You know, you still think about the hole. So I just, first of all, before we go any further, I want to thank all 4 of y'all for even being on here, because this is my therapy, and I hope that it's a black man watching right now that's going to get something out of the talks and the answers that y'all give, because I'm just here to really listen.
So Chop, I wanna kind of piggyback off what you just said and ask, what was that moment that made you recognize that you wanted help, that you wanted to go talk to somebody about what was going on?
My wife.
Okay.
I was in a dark place, like, you know, like I forgot which one of you guys said it, but somebody said about not wanting to be around people.
Mm-hmm.
It was very difficult because I couldn't be Porkchop, the radio funny guy, and be depressed. Because once I leave my house, everybody think, hey, Pork, what's going on? You know, I got that. And one day I woke up and she was like, you need therapy. And so far I see her name is Dr. Mercer. Big shout out to her. Every Wednesday, I do homework. I got a book, I journal, I write things down. I try to talk to people. So I'm doing everything that I never did to help me through this, especially talking. If it's a man watching and you keep things bottled up, don't do that. I've done that for years. Please talk to somebody.
Hey, Chop, what's been the reaction in your circle, right? Because a lot of times what I'm finding is, to your point, is women that's pushing us to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, because we're not only destroying ourselves, but we're destroying our families and the people around us. And women are often the ones that get to us first. But how have you talked differently to your core circle, your day ones, about your own journey in a way that's, even if they haven't taken the step to do all the things you've done, because maybe they're not in the same place you are, that they're at least thinking about some of the interventions differently than they have before?
I had to really, Jeff, look at myself and know who I was first. First, I gotta be true to me. You can't lie to yourself about what's going on in your life. You know, you can lie to someone else and front for it on Instagram and be on Facebook showing all your happy times. But when that phone cut off, you back to being depressed, you know. So I had to, 1, be real with myself. 2, the first person I talked to since my wife brought it up, every day I had to see her and talk to her, because people, y'all might not know either, I moved back to Baltimore, but my wife lives in Vegas. So I fly back and forth, she fly back and forth, and that was a big problem as well, you know, not having her there 24/7. So that's, I don't know, Jeff. I'm about to get on the couch. I need to lay down.
Now, as far as that through your journey, did you really know where to access services and go for help? Because I know that's one, and I would love to hear from everyone else. But do you really know how to get help?
The great thing is, my wife is a social worker. I feel like I'm very spiritual, not religious at all. I feel like when I got married to my wife, God knew what he was doing. He was like, you need somebody to help you go through the rest of your life and through your journey. So I'm going to send you this lovely black queen. And it's been me and her rocking and rolling. And when we got married, we only met each other for a week. I married my wife in a week. And it became 8 years married.
Man, commendable, man, commendable. Now, you brought up something really important too, Quentin, and that's seeking assistance. So, you know, at the point where you realize that you may need to speak to someone, if you're, you know, you're strong enough to say to yourself, man, I'm going to do something. I got to talk to somebody. What are some avenues? What are some options people can do? Who can they call? What are some services?
Yeah, and I think one of the easiest options that we can provide, you know, even with 2 in Maryland, we sort of serve as that bridge and connection to all these great resources to Marks and Brandons and Jeffs. And so, you know, we have, you know, hundreds and thousands of resources that we can connect individuals to when they're calling. They really don't know where to go and what to do. And with our 211 Press One line, which is specifically focused around mental health and crisis, you're connected with the call center that's accredited, professionally trained, empathetic listeners, where they will listen and understand how they can help you and provide you the service that you need. And that service may be connecting to one of these services to the brothers that we have online, or you know, an immediate contact in your community, whether it's a mobile crisis team or some other connection. But you know, the state provides this easy number, 3-digit number, to say, you know, if you need help, dial 211, press 1, because it might not be an emergency, but it's a crisis to you, and you need to speak to someone. And so, you know, we're able just to really have that initial conversation to try and at least understand, to try and calm the waters a little bit, to say, okay, you know, now we can connect you with the help that you might need. But it's really that other person on the phone that can help.
But also, because you brought up the 211 number. Now, have you guys heard about the 988 mental health number that they're trying to incorporate now?
Yes.
Instead of people dialing 911 for mental health situations, they can dial 988. Do you think that is something that will change the landscape of how people react and respond to, you know, these kind of situations and scenarios that we've been seeing as of late that don't turn out?
I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so, especially with the 988, which was normally the 800, you know, like national crisis line. And so I think, you know, as you know, numbers get easier to remember and more awareness, that, you know, it'll make it, you know, more comfortable for individuals to use. And so with our 211 press 1 will be really a direct connection to the 988. And so one of the things that we really try to do is provide that no wrong door approach. And so if you dial 988, if you dial 211 press 1, we'll make sure that you still get connected to where you need to get to. But I definitely think, you know, with more publicity and advertisement of these resources, you know, it'll get more folks to really use it.
Mm-hmm. And just to piggyback off of that, I think that we are starting to see some changes, right, in terms of the way that we respond to mental health emergencies. So with Shepherd Pratt, one of the things that we've done is we have rolled out a psychiatric urgent care, right? So the way that it works is if you are in a psychiatric crisis, you can go to the psychiatric urgent care, just like you would go to a medical urgent care. It's located on 6501 North Charles Street in Baltimore. Okay. And you can just roll up in there and have somebody see you right away, and they can talk about what's going on and triage you if it needs to be, or they can refer you outpatient. But that's a service that we're providing to kind of reach out to the community, to reach people where they are. And then also in Frederick, what we're doing is starting next week, we are going to be rolling out a program where we send an ununiformed officer, so a plainclothes officer, along with a paramedic and a mental health professional to respond to crises that come in through the 911. Right. So just to take away from you're going through a crisis and the first thing you see is a cop, because all of us know where we've been over the past.
I think we lost you, Mark.
We lost your
audio.
We don't hear you no more. Now it look like you muted, unmuted.
Got him.
Say something real quick, Mark.
Yeah, it's still muted.
You're good.
You're good. You're good. So also as a clinician, Mark, and someone in this field, you know how you have all different kind of doctors for different things, right? Mental health is such a wide gamut of issues that falls under that umbrella. You guys were touching on it earlier, you know, about the training. Now, is there mental health professionals for subgenres of mental health issues, or, you know, I mean, you guys handle the whole thing? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
I think that question was for Mark, right?
Yeah, he's the clinician on here. I was just wondering, you know, if they have, you know, specific specialties in mental health, or is it just a mental health specialist and you deal with everything?
Like we're still trying to get Mark audio together. Mark, can you hear us?
Yeah, he can.
Unmute your thing. I think you muted it. Go at the bottom of the screen. Say something.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
All
there you
right.
go,
Good to go.
The devil is
lie. All right. So back to what I was saying, though, just to follow up, taking away from the idea that the first thing that you encounter is law enforcement when you're calling for help, right? And Ryan, I believe you had a question for me.
No, I was just asking, because mental health covers such a wide variety of issues and diseases and different, depression, anxiety, all different kind of mental concerns. Do they have specialists that deal with particular issues, or are you guys
Absolutely.
kind of just trained on
Absolutely.
the whole umbrella of issues?
Both, right? We're all trained on all of the issues, but you do have specialists, because what happens is, as people go into the field, they have a niche, right? And so they might work with adolescents, or they might work with the geriatric community, or they might work specifically with people with PTSD and things like that. So definitely they do. If you are somebody who is coming in with really a diagnosis and maybe history with mental health, you might go towards that specialist because you might already know what you're looking for. But I'm sure, as Quentin can tell you, there's some people who just need that entree into mental health. They just need to talk with somebody and figure out what's going on, and to start from the beginning.
Absolutely. So, Brandon, being a mental health advocate, man, out here, what are some of the things you hear brothers say why they don't, want to see anybody, why they're not going to seek help? What are some of the things you hear?
Yeah, I mean, it's a ton of different things. I think the finding resources and finding a therapist is like, it's a process, right? Like it's a process, and it takes time to find one, and also it takes time to find the right one. It's when I talk to brothers all the time, they be like, yeah, I tried it once, I didn't like it, or this person wasn't for me. I encourage them to go back. Like, it takes time to find the right one. The first person you may talk to may not be the one for you. It may not match your style. They may not be, trained, as Mark said, on a particular issue that you want to get to. And so, it's important to try to find the right one. Like, you can fire your therapist. I tell people all the time, you can fire your therapist. If it's not working, fire them like you would do with anybody else. Right. If it doesn't work, because you want to make sure that you're getting the help that you need. So I think that's one, area as well. And I think, finances and the cost is another one, that often is a barrier that, people don't want the cost, whatever it may be. And so, I definitely try to get people connected to different resources. I think in Baltimore, we have a good one. We have the Black Mental Health Alliance that's based here in Baltimore. That if you go to their website, put in some information, they'll help you find a Black therapist for you. There's Therapy for Black Men is another national resource to help men find Black therapists, which is another one. If you go to Psychology Today, you can pick which, as Mark was, talking about the specialist, you can pick a specialist and find a therapist in your zip code that works with you to be able to meet your needs. And so, really it's just around, getting the barriers. There's a lot of, obviously we talked about the stigma piece, being a big one. And so we, again, as I'm having these conversations, I'm definitely like, encouraging brothers to, to take care of yourself. As always, as men, we have all these expectations internally and externally about what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to be able to handle. I try to tell brothers all the time, you're only as good as how well you take care of yourself, your family, and everybody that you say that you're putting this time in, which is why you can't, access this. We get to the point, we'll, drain ourselves out, and we don't have anything to put back into our families, and our families, our communities, our people need us. And so I'm like, take care of this so you can take care of everybody else, to get people in and get people engaged.
I got a question for you guys, and Jeff, I would love for you to answer this first. Black men should see a Black therapist. Is that a yes or no?
No. It would be great if the therapist was Black. Black men should identify the therapist that's right for them. And frankly, they're going to be, I think, like Brandon just said, we all know brothers and sisters who are not as culturally in tune as we might assume they should be. And similarly, therapy is no different. There are those who do not have a background within our communities, do not have a history of engagement with our communities, have not studied under someone that has made our communities a priority. They don't understand post-traumatic slave disorder. They don't know the nuances of environmental trauma and conditions. And so, and equally, I think Mark said earlier, there are frankly other folks that have made that their focus who may not be Black. So ideally, I would love to see Black folks with a Black therapist. But I also recognize everybody's Black experience isn't the same. And thus, everybody's therapist is not going to be the same. And so I think that if that is a priority for you, there are networks, again, to Mark's point, that can help plug you into a community of Black therapists. But there's no guarantee that the person that you're going to find for you, you know, you'd be surprised if you literally are open to what your needs are. You'd be surprised who you might find that is your ideal therapist that doesn't fit some image of what you thought a therapist was going to be. So I think it's a great question, Chop. I mean, I think that we need to be open enough in the search process and clear enough about who we feel comfortable with, who we can be the most open with, who we feel like at some degree understands where we're coming from, and who has a level of specialty in the area of our greatest need and our greatest pain. So I don't think that means that you're going to say, I'm going to find a Black woman who's from this part of the country who understands this, when you may turn around and find it's a white woman from Germany who happens to have some special area of focus that's in your need. So I think it's a really important question. But more importantly, I think we should be open to being healed. I think we should be open to being whole. And in the process of identifying a therapist, that should be the piece. But I also think that therapy is one of a number of interventions and options. And when Brandon started talking earlier, if we were a little bit more focused on daily care, some of us aren't necessarily in a place where therapy is the only thing that's going to provide a level of support. Some of us are in a place where I always say to brothers, listen, I know you, and you go to the gym with a trainer, and you done play sports your whole life. You done play ball your whole life. You've been an athlete your whole life, but you still go to the gym with a trainer because a trainer can bring something out of you that you don't know how to bring out of yourself. A therapist is the same thing. You might think you can do this all by yourself, but the therapist has the ability, is trained to be able to help bring things out of you, uncover things for you that you don't even see. And so it's not about an issue. You don't call yourself weak because you go to the gym with a trainer. And so as you're dealing with these issues, you're no more weak than having a trainer, a therapist that can help understand your brain science and your psychology, that can help you get to some place of revelation, that can help you get to some place of uncovering things that you hadn't uncovered before, and help get you to a place of wholeness. Beyond that, lastly, I think it's really important that we start thinking about what are those stress reducers that we need to have in our own life. For a lot of brothers, it's working out, because working out moves the endorphins. It creates blood flow. It creates breathing.
You know what my stress inducer is?
What's that?
You already know what it is.
What you talking about?
Tell me.
Greenerich. Weed.
Listen, man.
I mean, that's what it is.
No, listen. I mean, the medical community is probably more marijuana friendly than it's ever been before, because there are a whole lot of patients that were like, I don't want chemical meds. And so if I can avoid chemical meds, if what I'm dealing with can be treated with non-chemical meds, then marijuana can be one of those non-chemical options. So, I mean, I don't even think that. I think we need to be a lot more serious about talking about non-chemical options. But I also think we still need to be serious about. I have a dear friend who has a chemical imbalance, and he hasn't been able to find a strand that helps him find balance. And so, if he's off his meds, he is in a different place. And he has had to come to grips in his own life that this is something that I will take for the rest of my life, unless there is some other kind of intervention or solution that I find that I have not yet found. And he's looked for it. So I think we have to give ourselves some grace in understanding that, one, that we are unique individuals. And as a result, what we need may be unique from somebody else. And so whether it's meditation, whether it's breathing, whether it's exercise, whether it's taking a walk, whatever those stress reducers are, we should know what they are. And that's everybody, because we all dealing with stress. And so our jobs stress us out, our relationships stress us out, our kids stress us out, our finances stress us out. The reality of an unsure world stresses us out. Being Black in Baltimore stresses us out. All of those things stress us out.
Pandemic.
And so one of those things that help reduce stress in our own life, even before we start talking about meds or therapy or some of these other interventions. I don't know if some of the other brothers want to add to that, but I just find so often that because we haven't done a great job of providing real information, a lot of times brothers either think it's therapy or nothing, or you've got all these other things, and because they're not the Black thing to do, that I don't see that's an option for me in the reduction of my stress or my anxiety. And even some of the stigma that's around. I mean, it's amazing. White people now will use marijuana for everything. And as much as marijuana is more part of our culture in some ways than it is anybody else's, we still don't necessarily fully understand all the medicinal value properties of marijuana to even have a educated conversation or ask the right questions.
You're right.
Yeah. Ryan, I think you just brought up something that was really important, right? That I was hoping that we would get to, which is the pandemic, right? I mean, everybody has known somebody who has gotten sick with COVID or lost their lives to COVID. People have been on the front lines just dealing with the stress of it all. A recent report came out from the CDC just talking about the increased levels of depression and anxiety, especially in the Black community, right? Especially with folks on the front lines. And just being able to talk about that and to start a conversation here where hopefully the people who are watching can go back to their crew, go back to their forum, go back to their group me or whatever they do with their people and really check on each other and say, are you okay? You know, and if not, it's okay. Like, there are people you can go to talk to. But really, just the levels of stress that people have been dealing with. When I think about my practice and the people that come in, just now with the presenting problems of panic attacks, of anxiety, of stress, when everything went down last summer with the protests and everything else, everything that was going on and bubbling up in the country with the murder of George Floyd, there was just so much stress. And then people were indoors, right? So we have all of these factors going on. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, also with COVID, it forced us to be apart. And so, we had to stay away from each other. And so I think, really not being connected to friends and family and other support systems, that, also put a bunch of stress on each of us.
And like Chop was saying, right, one of those things with depression is that it makes you isolate, right? And so if you are in the pandemic, you might not have seen somebody in a while. You might just think it's because of the pandemic, but it might be that they're really going through it, right? And we haven't done that check on them just to see if they're doing okay. Substance abuse, the rates of substance abuse, of alcoholism and everything else went up during the pandemic. So just checking on people, saying, let's go for a walk, like Jeff was saying, as alternatives to just going straight to the mental health way, getting people out and exercising, reconnecting with people, like Quentin was saying. I think those are all really important things.
Before we go any further, we make sure y'all visit shepherdpret.org, or you could call 410-938-3000. And NAMI Maryland is here. All you got to do is visit NAMIMD.org. Y'all can continue. I just want to make sure to get the sponsors some love.
Give a plug to the sponsors.
Absolutely. Yeah. Got to show them some love.
I want to meet tomorrow.
Jeff, I think you made a really dope point, man. And, we're talking about getting to the therapist and being at that point. But I think before that, we're talking about the stigma of mental health and all that. And I think you made a very important point about going to the gym with a trainer. Now, that's something that's relatable that people can look at and say, oh, okay. So what are some of the things you think that maybe we can do, to show brothers that kind of situation, where it's not a crazy person seeking mental health. You're not, insane. You're just really doing a mental health checkup, and you're getting help just like you would if you had a bad cut, if you had a flu, fever, something. You know what I mean? Can't hear you, Jeff. Muted. Okay.
Sorry, my 2 and 4 year old are upstairs on a battle. So I think you made an important point, and I think it's even I think Mark talked about it earlier, and that's really challenging some of the language we use.
Right.
Because even this notion of crazy, if we as a community understood spectrum better, then we would understand we all on the spectrum for everything. And to Porkchop's earlier point, or even I actually remember the brother who I mentioned earlier, I remember the day of his trigger. So previous to this day, nobody knew he had a chemical imbalance. He left the house in his mother's car. I was 20 at the time. He was 18. Left the house in his mother's car. I'm waiting on him to pick me up. When I see him, he's running up the street. No shoes, no shirt, no car. He comes in the house. He's seeing the art on the wall coming off the wall in the living room. Now, hours before this, there had never been a sign that was recognizable to the family or to friends that there was a chemical imbalance. And so we don't know what the stressor was that was happening at that time in his life to trigger that. But we're all on the spectrum. And if we're all on the spectrum, then that means we all need to be taking care of ourselves. And if we look at it that way, then we're not looking at it through the lens of the highest level of schizophrenia or multiple personality. We're looking at it through the lens of we are all on the spectrum of wellness and not being well. And if we're all on that spectrum, then all of us have an obligation to do mental check-ins with ourselves, to look at this through the lens of how am I showing up as my best self? How am I reducing unnecessary stress and anxiety? How am I creating spaces to elevate peace? And if we did that, then we could reduce some of the stigma, because we would recognize that it's all in us. Every single one of us, it's all in us. Our brains are exactly the same. Our bodies are exactly the same. And there are triggers and stresses and trauma that will make something click or be engaged that before we never saw. And I wish we would have that kind of conversation more often, because I think if that was the case, cats go to the gym, not necessarily because they think they're going to be on my 600-pound life. They go to the gym because they recognize they're on a spectrum of health and they want to be in a certain place on that spectrum. And that's why they work out. That's why they change their eating habits. We haven't had that same kind of conversation as it relates to mental health. And I hope that we can do more of that to reduce the stigma and recognize that I don't care where you are on that spectrum. You're as human and as normal on one end of the spectrum as you are on the other.
Yeah, that's major. Just to jump in there, it's it's kind of like maintenance, right? Like even when we talk about having a car, like there's certain things if you don't do to take care of the car, it's going to break down faster. There are certain things, like certain indicators that let you know that your car's not right, whether it's a sound, whether it's a signal, whatever it is, you kind of know that something's not right. And so us having conversations with brothers and incorporating and letting them know to incorporate mental health as one of your indicators, I think is definitely a way to start to shift that conversation, to a language that we can, that we can subscribe to, and to really, as everyone has said so far, like start to change that language. Like I've even, one of my friends a while ago had, you ask somebody like, how you doing? They're like, I'm fine, I'm good. Like, it's just a generic answer that you kind of give folks. And so my friend one time had asked me, he was like, what's the main three, or give me three emotions that you felt in the last like 24 hours. Like, caught me completely off guard. I had never heard that before in my life. And I had to stop. Like, I was ready to just say like, I'm good, I'm fine. That's what I was expecting. And I had to think and had to take inventory of where I went that day, like where my mind was that day. And it changed. So when I, connect with brothers or do groups or connect with young people, I throw that out there, because it usually hits somebody with a pause. Like, you usually gotta stop and be like, what did I think? Like, how did I feel today? Like, what happened today? And you take that inventory and just checking in with yourself, on a, ever so often, and just taking inventory of where you are, I think, and also, just be something that we do before we even, everyone has said, even, get into therapy or get into, crisis services. How do we keep ourselves well, and how do we provide ourselves that maintenance to keep us up with just day-to-day life?
Definitely something we got to do. Daily maintenance. Got to check the oil every day. Brothers, definitely want to say thank you again for coming out here, man. We appreciate all this info. Don't forget our sponsors tonight: NAMI, Maryland. We got Ameri Group. We got Shepherd Pratt. Thank you so much for allowing us to come together and do this. Go ahead, Chop.
Before y'all leave, please give out y'all information of how anybody can reach you guys. Because I'm pretty sure when someone else, a man, to see this later on or right now, somebody's wife is watching and they really want to help their husband out. There's a sister that's trying to help their brother. Please give y'all information.
Okay. Well, as a clinician, I wanted to let you guys know that you can reach me at, we've been talking about Shepherd Pratt the whole time, right? So you can reach me at shepherdpratt.org. My name on the screen, Mark Raspberry. The telephone number, if you guys need to call intake, is 301-663-8263. If you would like to see me, you can go ahead and make a referral to see me personally, although I am experiencing a little bit of a wait list right now. But that is part of, the reality of what's going on right now, because so many people are starting to now access mental health services. But you can definitely give a call. There are plenty of therapists, plenty of culturally competent therapists out there who can help you out. So please reach out.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, and I think as Mark had mentioned, especially with the wait list, I think, as a sort of a stopgap where 201 Maryland can step in. And so with that 201 Press One in the interim, where we can, be that listening ear and provide you sort of that crisis and support and connections that we can connect you, with Mark and Brandon and other resources. But, definitely dialing 211 and pressing 1 will get you connected to one of our crisis centers. You can even connect with us through text. And it's really texting your zip code to 898-211. And you can engage with someone by text if you don't want to talk on the phone. And so we really just try to make it easy to connect, basically any way you want. But definitely 211 Press One if anyone's in need of help.
Got you. Brandon.
Yeah, just connect with the Black Mental Wellness Lounge. You can look us up on YouTube. Like 30 plus videos dedicated to mental health in our community. On Instagram, we're Black Mental Wellness Lounge, and on Facebook, we're the Black Mental Wellness Lounge. I would love to connect with you all.
Last but not least, Mr. Johnson. You're on mute again.
The kids got you, man.
We're not playing today.
No, I wanted to say thank you all for the invitation. It really has been an honor, even just a short time, to be on with you brothers. You can get us at menthrive.com. We've got a podcast. We're 32 episodes in. We're having conversations with brothers, and again, it doesn't feel like behavioral health. The goal for us is, how do we talk to brothers about areas of their life they've decided to thrive instead of survive? And that really, I'm in full transparency. I have been in a chat right now. It's 7 brothers in this chat, and when we did the mental health check today, over 70% of the brothers said they were below a 5. So I was literally typing as I'm listening to y'all, saying, okay, we need to do a virtual cigar or a Zoom tonight, because we can't just overlook the fact that over half the group said they were at a 4 or 5. We're not going to be up every day.
Right.
But a lot of times I think it's hard for us when we ask brothers they okay and they say no. A lot of us don't even know what to say.
Right.
And so sometimes, brother, it's about one acknowledging that we're not gonna let that shit go. Like we gotta talk about that right now.
Right.
And so two, sometimes it's not even about us having the right answers. Sometimes it's just being an ear to be able to listen. And so I'm just saying, in real time, as we're having this discussion, this work is real. So thank you, brothers, for all that you do. Chop, man, just thank you so much for your transparency, brother. And Ryan for your leadership here. So you all, thanks again. I really appreciate being a part of this.
Everybody that's watching, I will tell you, you reach out to Mark, right? Mark is backed up. You call 211, quitting to hold you down. You need somebody to talk to. Brandon is right there waiting. And then Jeff Johnson, you might get the busy signal, right? When you call Jeff. Jeff a busy man. And in that case, you call me or Ryan.
We got you.
I'm here to talk to any man that have that talk, because I walk down that road. I understand everything. And my aunt, I'm over my aunt's house right now. She told me to tell every black man, listen to your wife first.
Strong woman right there. Strong woman.
She's not playing. She can hear me too. I don't want no talk. None.
I just want to say, I think this is a very important conversation, very important discussion. I think it's some key points that we hit tonight, and I hope that it resonates with whoever's listening and who will listen after this gets posted. But I think the key is balance, man. We got to find that balance in ourselves individually. We got to find out those stress reducers. We got to do those things. We got to do those daily mental health checks. We got to make sure that we're okay. And we got to check on each other, brothers. And I think we really got that point across tonight. There's resources available. We made that aware. So I'm very proud of the guys here and the information that you guys were able to bring, and the strength that you guys were able to bring. I'm sure that this is affecting and touching someone right now, and that makes a difference. So, fellas, I'm absolutely grateful. I learned a lot tonight. So, thank you very much. And this is
all. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Quentin. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Continue to be strong black men and black fathers out there, man. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, man. Take care of the family. Take care of yourself. And you know what, I Chop, and before we go, man, you said it, man. Being on the radio and being a personality, we talk to a lot of people, and we hear a lot of people issues, and people feel like they can tell us stuff, and it comes with the territory, man. And so yeah, we wear that hat, we wear it well, we wear it proud, man. So again, we're always here to help, definitely. And gentlemen, I just want to say kudos, thank you so much. All right.
I guess I gotta take my fat ass to the gym. After y'all talked about the gym and a trainer.
I need a trainer, man. I
guess we're gonna get these things worked on.
With the two Porkchops in here tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Brandon, I'm coming in. Me and you gonna work this fat ass out. Come on, Brandon.
Stop, man. Stop. You ain't even smart, man. You got a stand in. You need to talk to Brandon, man. You got a W.
I wish I had my damn glasses with me. Yo, we look just alike. Y'all be blessed. Have a good evening.
All right.
Thank you.
Peace to you.
Thank you, fellas. Thank you so much. Definitely, once again, want to shout out our sponsors again before we get out of here for the night, man. Nami, big shout to Shepherd Pratt, and definitely big shout to the American Group, Magic 95.9. Be blessed, y'all. Have a great evening.